good wagwan, my name is Munchilu and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, thank you so much for clicking on this video, and if you're a returning subscriber, shout out to you. So for today's video, we're going to be talking all about the HESI A2 examination. You've seen the title, I'm pretty sure that's why you're here. If you so happen to just stumble on this video and you're like, what the heck is the HESI A2? It is basically the entrance exam most schools, or I'm pretty sure all schools, use for nursing school. So I did my HESI a week ago, and when I was preparing, I watched a bunch of videos and looked at what other people were saying, what they recommended. So now that I've done mine, I feel like I want to make my own video as well, putting out there just to help other people who may be looking around for information and tips and tricks as well. So I'm basically going to be going over how I studied, the resources that I used to study the techniques, and any advice that I would give you that would guarantee you an above 90 average. Oh, and keep in mind that I studied for 2 weeks. I started studying 2 weeks before my exam. If you're short on time and this is you, this video is definitely going to be helpful. Yeah, so if that sounds like something you're interested in, just keep on watching this video. But before we get started, if you'd like to see more content from me, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and also like this video since you're already here. Alright, let's get to it. So before you start preparing, before you start doing anything, you have to know what you're preparing for. Basically, the HESI is going to assess you on different subject areas, and different schools require you to do different tests. So for my school, I was required to do anatomy and physiology, grammar, vocabulary, comprehension, and mathematics. However, the HESI also assesses physics, biology, and chemistry. So it is on your part to find out before you even start studying, before you even think about any of that, what are you going to be preparing for. You can call your school, call the office, look on the website, see what you need to prepare for, because it doesn't make sense you go and you're doing all these practice tests from all these subject areas unnecessarily and you're not even going to be tested on that. So because my test only included those 5 subjects, those are the 5 subjects that I will be talking about today. Okay, so now you know the subjects that you're required to do. You've went ahead, you've scheduled your HESI examination, and now it's time to start studying. You're watching YouTube videos, you're trying to figure out, how can I prepare for this? So unless your school provides you with some form of HESI preparation class or course, you're just left alone until your test date, and what are you gonna do? So I'm gonna show you the books that I used and how I prepared. Okay, so I got 3 books in preparation for this. I'm gonna go ahead and show you the books, and I'm also going to tell you what the book includes. That way you can go ahead and figure out if that's something you're looking for and something that fits your style of studying. So the first book I got was the HESI Admission Assessment. So this is it right here. It's a tiny book. So here it goes. And all of these books include all the subject areas. So this includes all subject areas: physics, chemistry, biology, anatomy, math, grammar, vocabulary, comprehension in this book. Now, if you need something fast, something short, concise, you cannot get this book on its own to practice from. If you're getting this, you're getting this in addition with something else. So basically what this book does, it takes each subject area and breaks them down into topics that you should focus on for the HESI. It does not go into detail. It doesn't get in too deep. It kind of just gives you a brief idea of what you need to do, what you need to focus on, and you can use this as an outline. The topics are very short. For example, the skeletal system. Here we have, I don't know if you guys can see that here, but this is talking about the skeletal system, and it ends here. So this and this, that's the skeletal system. There are some pictures that you need to know. So if you need something that's quick, this is the book for you. Okay, it's gonna tell you what you need to know. It's very short. After each subject area, they do have like a few questions. It's not too much, like 10 questions per page. There's a pre-test and a post-test. I think each has the pre-test has 25 questions. The post-test has 50 questions from all areas. So again, this very concise, very straight to the point. It does explain the grammar and the comprehension part very well. However, the anatomy part is very concise. They give you the tip of the iceberg for what you need to know. Now the next one I got the big boy. This one. This is the HESI A2 Secret Study Guide. So I'm pretty sure you've seen this one. Again, has all subject areas, and she's thick. It is thick, okay? This is basically a bulked up version of that book over there. Same thing, it goes through each topic. This one has more information. It gives you the information that you need to know, but it also goes in depth. Okay, so we saw what the skeletal system looked like in that book. In this book, this is what the skeletal system entails. It has one page here, even though it's just like a paragraph. But then we have this page, and this page. So as you can see, it does have a lot more information than what we saw over there. The only advantage the HESI admission assessment has is that it has more updated pictures because it's colored. The diagrams are better there. However, you won't get any diagrams to label or anything like that on the HESI, but it's good for visual. If you're a visual person, it's good for that. This has pictures, but it has a base. Like, look at this skeleton. He looks like he needs some milk, but yeah, it's there. You can see it. Yeah, so if I would recommend this or that, if you're planning on deciding, I would say if you're really deciding and you are going to get one, I would definitely recommend this one over this one. However, if you can, I would say you can use them together to see, because another thing, this does have a few little things that this doesn't have. It might be a sentence or two. That sentence or two might be very important. All right, and the last book that I got was this one, the 4 HESI A2. And what it entails is 4 full HESI examination questions. And what I really like about this, so not only does it have the answer key here, it goes one step further and it explains each answer. So after you go through the answer key, it has explanation of every single question, which is something I really like, because yes, the answer key is good, but if you get something wrong, you just have the answer and it tells you what the correct answer is. That's good. However, it explains to you why this is the correct answer, why this is wrong. So that way you know the principle, you know why you got that wrong, and you're more than likely not going to get it wrong the next time, because now you understand why you got it wrong in the first place. So I really appreciated that aspect of this book. This book is really good. I would definitely recommend this one as well. So each of these books, they also include tips and study strategies and, you know, more of an insights on the HESI. So for example, it gives you a breakdown here of the tests and everything. Those were the books that I used to study. And let's get into how I studied. So as I said before, I started studying 2 weeks before my examination. I think I have my study timetable that I made. I'm gonna put it somewhere on the screen. I made it. Did I stick with it 100%? No, I did not. I probably went along with that maybe like 2 days. For the 2 first days, I did still complete everything, just not as how I had it listed. But that's the next tip that I would give you. Have a study plan down. Don't just say, oh, I'm just gonna study you know, whatever comes to mind or whatever subject I feel like studying today. Have a plan down. I need to have a plan in place. I need to see what I need to do in order for me to do it. Now what I did, I started off with my strongest subject, which was mathematics. Basically for me, the math that was coming on this exam was math that I was already familiar with, so I didn't want to spend too much time with it, so I gave myself a day. I completed all the math examinations in this book. So the 4 tests, I did the 4 of them. So I did the first test. I went over the answers. If I got anything wrong, I went into the review section and I made a little review page in my notebook and just writing down any explanations, anything like that. I went ahead, I did test 2, did the same thing. Test 3, I did the same thing. Test 4, I did the same thing. I was able to complete all 4 of the math tests in one day. So that's another tip that I have for you. Anything you get wrong or anything that that is new to you, have a page where you put all that information on. That way, if you're looking for one specific information, you're gonna have to skim through all of that, which means you're constantly reading that over and over. It's repetition in your head, and eventually you're gonna start visualizing the page just by default, skimming through that page, looking for that specific question, looking for that specific information. You're gonna automatically, everything else on that page is gonna eventually just stick. Now for math, topics that you need to focus on, they have fractions, decimals, ratios, percentages. And for me, the biggest challenge was conversions, ounces, a pint, a quart, a gallon, and changing from one to another. So that for me was the biggest thing that I had to focus on. How many cups make a quart? How many quart makes a gallon? How many gallon makes a pint? No, that doesn't make sense. So again, you can go ahead and make a chart, and on that chart have all your conversions. When you're looking for one conversion, you're going to be looking at all the other conversions. You're going to remember it without even thinking about it. When you're in the test and you see it, your mind is automatically going to go back to that page, and even if you were thinking about something else, you might just see that little answer in the corner and like, oh yes, that's what I'm looking for. One thing to keep in mind, there is going to be a calculator. You're not allowed to use an actual calculator. However, there is a little digital calculator there, so you can do all your calculations. Okay, so the next subject that I did after I did math was grammar. Now, grammar is going to entail your regular fill in the blanks question, meaning choose the word that makes the sentence grammatically correct. Which word is used incorrectly? So again, I went ahead and I completed the 4 grammar practice tests as well, just like I did with the math. If there was anything that I was unsure of, anything I got wrong, as I said, the book has the explanation as to why you got it wrong and which answer is right and why this answer is correct. So topics to brush up on when you're practicing for grammar: your subject verb agreement or your subject predicate, clauses, what's the main clause, what's the dependent clause, parts of speech, just regular things like that you might think is simple, but we don't really practice it every day, so you might be out of touch with certain terms. Now when it comes to vocabulary, if you don't know the word, you simply don't know the word. You've never seen that word before. Your next step is to look for context clues. What is the sentence saying? What is the sentence trying to say? And try to interpret that and see what word that they give in the options best fit into that scenario that they're given. There's no possible way to tell somebody to learn every word there is. The most I can say is just do practice tests. There are words that are consistent. There's words that I've seen in practice tests that were on the actual HESI examination. So there's a few words that are like their keywords that they stick to. They're definitely going to ask you for this. Focus on those. So a lot of the scenarios in the grammar and the vocabulary are medically related questions. Nothing too crazy, nothing too advanced. They're just simple sentences that they create around a medical scenario. For example, they give a scenario and say a patient's condition is deteriorating, and then they will ask you, what does deteriorating mean? And you will have your options: getting better, getting worse, gone completely. And it's in that case where you have to figure out what does deteriorating mean? So there's a lot of sentences like that. They'll give you a word that has some kind of connections to medicine. The passages that they give on the actual HESI are not as long as the ones in the practice test. So the practice test maybe like 4 paragraphs, 5 paragraphs. For the HESI, the most I probably got was 1 with 3 paragraphs. They're mostly 2. And yes, girl, I was falling asleep on the 2 paragraphs. Just pay attention. Now, when it comes to comprehension, they're gonna ask you, what was the main idea? What was the purpose of this essay? Was it to persuade? Was it to inform? Was it to entertain? That's another thing. These books, they also go ahead and explain to you how to identify the purpose of a passage. Another question you're definitely going to get is, from the passage, what is fact? What is opinion? And sometimes we get our opinions very confused with facts. Sometimes we have our own opinion and we see them as fact, but in reality, they're just our opinion. For example, if you see a question that says, children should have outdoor activities daily. Is that a fact or is that an opinion? Sounds accurate. Sounds like, yeah, I definitely agree with that. But is that a fact? It's not quite a fact. In that case, that would be an opinion. Snakes are reptiles. That's the fact. Another thing you're definitely going to be asked is a summary. They're going to ask you, which of the following statements is the best summary for the passage? Always make sure that whatever selection you make, all points are stated in the passage. If there's a point in your statement that is not a part of the passage, that's wrong. If there's a statement that doesn't fully explain what the passage entails, that's wrong. And oftentimes, of course, we all know there's going to be 2 answers that are so similar and you just don't know. There's going to be that one word that gives it off. There's going to be that one word that wasn't included in the passage. Or there's going to be that one statement has just one word that was included as well, and it just gives it an edge over the other. Okay, now for the part I'm pretty sure everybody is wondering about, the anatomy section. The anatomy section has the least amount of questions. All of the other tests on the HESI have 50 questions. However, the anatomy has 25 questions. So you're gonna get 25 questions. You might get 30. However, there's gonna be 5 like buffer questions. I got 30. So however, there's gonna be 25 actual questions that are gonna count towards your grade. So it's just crazy how the anatomy has the widest range of things that you need to know, but it has the least amount of questions. Systems. You have to know your systems. You need to know each of the body systems, the organs that take place in the systems, how those organs interact with each other, and how do those organs interact with organs of other systems. You need to know the primary organs and you need to know the primary functions of these organs. Now, if you've done anatomy and physiology 1 and 2 with the lab, these are going to be concepts that you're already familiar with. I've done anatomy and physiology, which is why I was able to study in 2 weeks. However, if you're somebody who has not done anatomy and physiology and you're planning to do the HESI, you definitely need more than 2 weeks to study, because you are going to have to know all the systems. You're going to need to know all the organs. What does each organ do? How do the organs communicate with other organs of that system and with organs of other systems? One question that they love to ask is, how do the organ systems interact with each other? So they might ask, how does the muscular system interact with the nervous system? How does the skeletal system interact with the muscular system? So in order for you to be able to answer these questions, you need to know what does each system do and how do those functions interact with each other. So planes are very important. Directional terms, anterior, posterior, superior, lateral, medial. These are things that you are going to need to know. So apart from the, oh my gosh. So apart from the practice tests in this book, I did so many practice tests online and I still got a lot of questions that were not included in the practice test, and wait for it, was not included in the books. I saw a lot of questions that kind of threw me off guard because yes, they were familiar because I did the anatomy and physiology classes, which is why I say if you're somebody who has not done anatomy and physiology before, you need more than 2 weeks and maybe even research a little bit more information than what is in the books. I would not study off the books alone. The books are very concise. They give you a guide as to what you need to know. Now, what resources did I use to study apart from these books? Now, your best friend, Google. I literally Googled everything. HESI practice test, HESI A2 practice test. You're gonna find a bunch of websites. I'll actually go ahead and leave some links below to some resources that I've used, and even if I find any other ones that you guys can use. Even if you just get 10 questions on a site, if you do that for 5 sites or 10 sites, that's 100 questions, that's 50 questions there. So don't be discouraged or don't turn away from a website just because it gives you 10 questions or 15 questions. That's 15 missed opportunities that you might have gotten a question that you weren't aware of, or you know, something that you needed to review. Apps. When it comes to apps, there are a lot of apps for the HESI A2 examination. The one that I got, there's a paid version, there's a free version. I just got the free version. The free version, I think it came with 50 questions. They just give you different tests, and then eventually you're just gonna start repeating because you did them all. The paid version I think was $15. This I would recommend if you're just starting to study. It was and you want to spend the money. It was $15 and it had, I think they said it has 1,000 and something questions. How accurate that is, I don't know. I never used it, and this was like 2 days before my test, so I wasn't gonna pay $15 2 days before my test. Obviously wasn't gonna complete all those questions, so I was like, I'm just gonna chill with the I'm just gonna chill with the free version. And another thing I did to help me study was YouTube. You guys have no idea the amount of information that is on YouTube. After I'm done with a system, I just go and I find a video with somebody else basically saying the same thing, but visually I can see it. I understand what they're talking about. If they mention something that I wasn't aware of, I'm like, wait, red flag, what you're talking about, I don't know. And you can never go wrong there. And the next thing I want to say, do not take the things you know for granted. You know, it's easy to say, oh, I talk English every day, I don't need to practice grammar, or I read every day, I don't need to practice comprehension. Practice. You might come across something you never knew, and that's gonna give you a better advantage for when it comes to doing the actual test. So I think I've mentioned everything I did when it came to preparing for the HESI examination. I actually recorded my reaction to opening my scores. If you guys are interested in seeing that, I would actually post it. Well, yeah, I think that's all the information I have for you guys today. I wish you all the best in your examination. You got this. Okay. Thank you so much for watching my video. Don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to see more content by me. And like this video, follow me on Instagram if you want to. And if anyone's out there, bye.